Alrighty, America. Welcome back to the 50-50 show. My name is
Hold
Omar.
on. What about Europe? What about
For-
Europe? What about Asia? What about Africa?
They know. If they're watching, they know they're also welcome. You just had to cut off my flow. You wanted to get inside my head before today's slate of debate. I don't appreciate that.
I
Okay?
need an
If
edge.
you could,
I
if
take
you
every
could
edge I
leave the
can.
mind games to when we start the debating, I would really appreciate that.
Uh,
Anyway, I was gonna introduce you as my brother, but now I must do so reluctantly. This is my brother Omar. Today we're gonna be talking about last night's NBA games, and then later we'll move on to previewing some NBA and even a little bit of NFL for you football fans. So first, we're gonna talk about Brooklyn Nets taking on the Los Angeles Lakers. Lakers win a close game behind Austin Reaves, 38 points. Omar, as our resident Lakers stan, what do you think about this game? What do you think about the Lakers? Did this move the needle for you at all?
Well, it definitely doesn't move the needle for me. The spread for this game was 10.5. I would know. No comment on why. But the Lakers did not cover it. Obviously, AD was ruled out. That wasn't known at the time. But the Lakers should be winning this game by 6 to 7 points. It's a little sad that we needed AR to have a career-high 38 points on pretty efficient shooting, 13 of 23. And LeBron had a almost 29-point triple-double. He had 8 assists, 7 rebounds. So just sort of sad that it even got to that point. The same Brooklyn team couldn't even get over 70 points versus the Clippers, and then they put 100 on us. Granted,
the better LA team, so it makes sense.
There's some variance there, but yeah, just some takeaways in general. First of all, LeBron still had 5 turnovers. I don't know. I mean, the man's over 40 now, or is 40. Like, it's not something that can be fixed at this point, but that's the biggest issue with this game, and you see it almost every night in the regular season. A turnover is just so massive. It's literally worth something like 1.5 points, because when you turn it over, most of the time they're going to be able to finish that in an easy layup or dunk, right? So 2 points for the points they get, and it's not guaranteed, so you give it 1.5. Lakers versus a lot of the Western teams were only about 2 to 4 points worse. Like, if LeBron could actually average one less turnover, that gap could be bridged. I'm not saying it's LeBron's fault. I'm not saying anything like that. But that's a big issue with LeBron in the regular season. In the playoffs, he's a little better with the ball. But that's still an issue in the regular season. I definitely don't think it helped us. There's a reason why he was minus 11 in the plus minus. Obviously, he wasn't playing poorly. He was very efficient from the field. But the turnovers are just so brutal to make up. But this game was mostly about Austin Reaves with no AD in the game. And it was a bit of a matchup between AR on the Lakers and D'Lo on the Nets, because that's what the Lakers had to choose between as their starting point guards, right? D'Lo just got traded to the Brooklyn Nets, and that was the Lakers choosing to keep AR. I definitely think AR got the better of him, because D'Lo had the game-winning opportunity. With about 4 seconds to go, he takes a close 3. They're down 1. He misses, and the game's over. Debatable if he should have even shot a 3 when they only needed 2 to win, but it was just a straight up battle, guard on guard, cone on cone. Some cool moments were like when LeBron got switched onto D'Lo a couple of times, but especially the one I'm thinking of, he got so low, like he was when he guarded D Rose in the playoffs, sometimes when he guards Kyrie, he really takes those seriously, and I really like seeing that, because this is a guy that a lot of people say isn't a competitor. He's not a killer. He's no MJ. Listen, he's a nicer guy. I'll give you that. He actually seems pleasant to be around. But he definitely has a little chip on his shoulder. He takes things seriously sometimes, and he locked in defensively, and I really like that. This was a super low-scoring game. And I've talked about with LeBron, that's something I need to see in the playoffs. That kind of defense, I've seen him do it versus Jamal Murray for about half a quarter, a full quarter, fourth quarter, versus the Denver Nuggets 2 years ago on a broken foot. I've seen him do it a lot in Miami and Cleveland, and I've seen him do flashes of it in LA. I worry that he can't really sustain it, but if he's saving his energy, your hope is that in the playoffs, those 1 or 2 critical games, you're in a game 7 in the second round, you need to put an opponent away in the first round, that's when you need him to come in with that defense and secure the win, because often he's a bit of a cone in the regular season. But honestly, besides AR popping off and me seeing some, good defense from LeBron and still a lot of turnovers, just want to credit D'Lo. He wasn't the right fit for the Lakers because we had AR already and we needed other things like defense. But he's the best player on the Brooklyn Nets. Don't get that twisted. I have him even over Cam Johnson. Cam Johnson's more valuable to a contender because he's versatile. You just slot him in.
You mean Cam Thomas, right? Or are you talking about?
No,
you're talking about
Cam Johnson.
Okay.
Oh, well, Cam Thomas. I don't even rate him that highly, but he wasn't even playing. Okay. So I didn't even mention him, but Cam Johnson didn't end up playing either, but he was questionable, so he could have. So I was just saying, I think D'Lo is still better than him, But it's just, as a contender, it's not amazing because D'Lo forces your team to play in a certain way, and he gives your team certain weaknesses. And if you're going to have that, you might as well have Austin Reaves, or you might as well go have Tyrese Halliburton, right? Like these guards who can push the pace, the cones on defense. D'Lo's just worse than other people at it, but he's still a good player. He showed that today. 19 points, 8 assists. Definitely the leading, ball handler on this team. Also, just shout out to Ben Simmons. Don't really like the guy. I don't think he's I have a lot of issues with him, but he's having a quietly decent season this year. I think he's the second best player on the Nets lineup that played today. I'll just leave it at that. Keep the controversy out for now. But in general, I just think he's pretty good. He'll never be great because of his mental issues, right? Like you can't score more than 10 points a game. But he plays great defense, good at passing, good at rebounding. And yeah, he only gets 8 points, but they're always efficient 8 points. Like that's a solid player. And then Day'Ron Sharpe, he didn't have a great game. So if you're a Lakers fan who doesn't watch much Brooklyn, he maybe seemed a little bad to you. He got his rebounds today, but he usually plays a little better defense than he did. And he's usually not as terrible on offense. So those are the Brooklyn players I wanted to shout out that either did perform well or maybe didn't. But you should give them another shot. Everyone else, Zaire Williams, Keon Johnson, don't like them at all. I think they're absolute bums. Think Brooklyn has hit nothing there. And yeah, sorry, I forgot. Max Christie, 2 of 13. That's it. Max Christie, 2 of 13, man. Terrible. Regret every single minute I watch a Lakers game and see him on the court. Also, shout out Gabe Vincent. I do want to throw that out there. A lot of people were hating on him at the beginning of the season.
Including you.
Including me. Well, listen.
Excuse me.
Because when people talked about him at the beginning of the season, they thought they were getting a stud from Miami. And I always knew that wasn't the case. But then people started talking about him like he shouldn't even be on the roster. Like he can't even play on an NBA court. And that's not true at all. He's a serviceable bench player. He got 2 steals, 2 blocks, put in that defensive effort, still hit a couple of shots. I think he had 9 or 10 points. I know he went over his line because I had the under. So respectable offensive performance, great defensive performance. So those are my main takeaways, but for your overall question of did this move the needle? No, definitely didn't. If anything, it hurt me because it's like we shouldn't have to do if AR has 38 and LeBron has 29, why do we only have 102? That we should have 108, 110, 112. If you want to win this league, your offense really needs to be able to get over 110. And yeah, we're missing AD, but I just don't think that's acceptable. Like AD should be our defensive anchor. A lot of these guys are cones out here. Max Christie, Rui Hachimura, Cam Reddish, Dalton Connect. We need Dalton Connect 0-4 from 3. Like we just can't be having that consistently. And he's been 18% from 3 ever since he started out really hot. He hasn't been able to hit a 3. We need to get that offense going by the time we get into the playoffs. So this doesn't move the needle at all for me. If anything, it's confirmation we're a mediocre roster right now. Dorian Finney-Smith did not play. Like, he didn't even play any minutes, so maybe injury or whatever. But, again, I'm just going to talk about it every time the Lakers come up. Dorian Finney-Smith needs to start, or else this roster is not going to work. J.J. Redick's been signing, 2-way contracts on centers because they want to run a 2-big lineup again. I just don't understand why it can't be Dorian Finney-Smith. I honestly don't understand.
Well, because he's a 3 to 4.
Yeah, put him at the 4 and let AD run the 5. They're so obsessed with getting AD over to the 4.
Because he didn't like running the 5.
No, I know, and he said that. But the players they're signing, the names that are being mentioned, are terrible. If you're so obsessed with a 2-center lineup, go get you a real center. I just don't see a world where it's you're signing a G League player as your center, AD at the 4, DFS is still not starting. Mm-hmm. What are you doing? How are you going to win? I don't get it. I honestly don't get it. At first, I thought the Lakers had made a great move because they upgraded from D'Lo to DFS. But now I'm starting to think they just got lucky and hit the gem of DFS. And they only did the trade so they could get out of D'Lo, get him off the team, and get rid of all the issues that were happening there, which is really sad because that is not enough for this team to win. You need to integrate DFS. He's a top 5 player on this roster easily. 4th, LeBron, AD. I would put him above AR, but I understand AR for most people. That's cool. It's not a big deal to me. And then DFS. You need to get DFS those minutes. But I mean, yeah, that's my takeaway. I wouldn't say I was too happy. It was. Frankly, I shouldn't have been that worried in the 4th quarter. 2 seconds to go, D'Lo could have hit the game winner on us. Why are we in that position? That's not okay.
I agree mostly on your points. It's really hard to argue this one. I'm not a Lakers fan, so I already knew these things. I guess it took a little bit to get on the side of reality.
No.
One thing I'll bring up that you didn't is Rui Hachimura. I'm actually really disappointed in his play for the last 2 seasons because what we saw in the, I want to say 2022, maybe 2023 playoffs, when they played the Grizzlies, when they played the Warriors, Hachimura showed some real promise as a driving threat, had his midi game and his defense as well, looking like to be like an all around kind of player that the Lakers really needed. We're 2 years removed from that playoff series. He really hasn't taken any leaps in his driving game and his ability to shoot the three or the mid range, and his defense seems to be getting worse and worse. But like now he's like average to below average defender instead of the above average defender they were looking for. So that's been a little disappointing, especially because he signed a pretty good contract. So they're pretty much stuck with him, but he seems to still be stuck. But yeah, for me, I already knew the Lakers. I've been telling Lakers fans, but like they struggle to be a team that is so clearly tanking. They might get hit with a fine soon for trying to lose games.
It's sort of funny because they did it too late. Like, they're so bad now, but they already got those wins with Jordy as the coach, Dennis Schroeder. It's too late. Like, how are you ever going to match the trashness of the Charlotte Hornets or the Washington Wizards or the New Orleans Pelicans? Like, I don't think you can get there. But no, it's like you might end up agreeing a lot with me, but that's because people just have unrealistic expectations of the Lakers. Like, some fans have it, and so maybe to them I don't seem like a real fan, but I'm just realistic. And haters think, like, they just put these, like, the Skip Baylesses of the world, they put these really high expectations on us, so the only thing we can do is fail. Like, why would we be the best team in the West? Why would we be even
LeBron
close?
James. Your GOAT. Your GOAT is on the Los Angeles Lakers. Should they not be contenders?
Not
Anthony Davis.
I think most LeBron fans, even if they still believe LeBron is the best player in the league, which I don't think a majority do anymore.
I sure hope not.
But even if they did, it would have to be with the caveat that we're only talking playoffs. No one legitimately believes over any random 200 minutes that LeBron is doing more than Giannis, because Giannis is way younger. LeBron's going to have more lapses on defense because he's out of breath. He's old. He's going to have more turnovers. He just doesn't care. Like, he's not chasing any awards. All he's trying to do is make the playoffs. So even if you think LeBron is, I mean, yeah, I have him as my GOAT, but it's not because I think he's the best player in the league in year 21. If you think that, I think you're a little delusional and you're being unfair to the young guys. I think he's probably top 5 in the league in the playoffs. Like, I'm taking him over Joel Embiid in the playoffs. I like him over Luka in the playoffs.
What?
I like him over the young guys like D-Book in the
Luka
playoffs.
Doncic in the last year's finals, Luka?
Yeah, no, exactly. And I like him over D. Mitch in the playoffs. But like D. Mitch in the regular season, I don't think, even if you want to argue LeBron's better, it's pretty close, right? Like, there's a reason the Cavs are the number 1 seed. Like, day in, day out, they're playing defense, they're playing offense, passing the ball around, limiting the turnovers. So I don't feel like people just try to put us in a box. As Lakers fans, we have to expect greatness because that's what the Lakers franchise stands for. To me, that's on the GM. That's on them. If you want greatness and you want your franchise to be considered great, how about you get Max Christie off my starting lineup? How about you get Cam Reddish off my entire lineup? Like, what are we doing here? You're signing two-way centers. That's not J.J. Redick's fault. Yeah, J.J. Redick talked about it in the press conference. Do you think he's the one controlling the budget? He's the one controlling the draft picks? And I will say, by the way, one of the biggest critiques I have of LeBron and his Lakers tenure is not gameplay related. It's the trade to get Russell Westbrook.
Le GM.
Yeah, I've talked about this before. LeBron James is not a very good GM, but he started doing all this because the Cavs GM in the 2000s was so incompetent, so idiotic that he was like, well, anything's going to be better than this. So I'll just read my dummy's guide to how to be a GM, be better than you. And that's what he did. And now he has like 4 or 5 chips, great career. But he honestly could have had 7 or 8 if he had a GM like MJ did, where he's like, you just get to sit in your city, drop 36, and he goes and finds the Scottie Pippins and the Dennis Rodmans. Like, LeBron doesn't get those players brought to him. And he takes control over. And I think the Lakers are always going to regret that, dude. Alex Caruso, are you kidding me? That one player smokes Russell Westbrook. Think about what else we gave up. I still think Kuzma isn't that bad. He's terrible on the Wizards right now.
Kuzma's trash.
No, he's terrible on the Wizards right now, but I think it's just because he just doesn't care. He was a decent player on the Lakers. On that chip roster, come on now.
He was okay.
He was better than Russell Westbrook was.
For the Lakers, yeah. When Westbrook was for the Lakers, sure.
I mean, and then when he went to the Clippers, Westbrook wasn't great. Oh, Westbrook's only started to look good in Denver, and that's because of Jokic. You said that. You talked about how Jokic can make any bench player look like a star.
Yeah, but Westbrook is particularly pairing well with him.
Yeah, but it's still that pairing, right?
It's still that connection. Jamal Murray's not trash just because he plays with Jokic.
Yeah, no, I know. But I bet if I put Jamal Murray on the Clippers, he wouldn't have 0 of 5 from three-point games, would he?
Probably not.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, ever since that trade and we lost all those pieces, it hasn't been looking good. And LeBron's defense just gets worse and worse in the regular season. So I don't know what you want me to say, man. Like, I'm not delusional. But I will say, don't take this to mean that we're not going to be a threat in the playoffs. Because all these young teams like the Houston Rockets, the Memphis Grizzlies, even the Golden State Warriors, I wouldn't say like they're young, but
the Warriors are trash.
They're not built for the
Warriors.
playoffs.
Are like they're not.
Well, they were good earlier.
They're barely inside playoff.
They were
contention.
good earlier, though.
Okay,
they were good earlier, and even like the Kings, I think we're better in the playoffs than all those teams. So when I say
smoke your Lakers,
when I say
smoke your Lakers,
my brother, you guys couldn't win until you got Doug Christie as your coach. Okay, calm down.
Player coach, bro.
So we're probably like a 7th best roster, but because clutchness and playoff factor is a thing, in the playoffs, I'm still putting us like 4th. I would be disappointed if we lost in the first round. But don't expect me to get on here and say that we are bad or we choked if we lose to the Nuggets or the Thunder in the second round. We are not as good of a roster. Like if we win, it's an upset, and it's probably off the backs of like legendary playoff performances from players like LeBron. But you can't actually look at my roster, bro. Like, Let me list some players from the OKC Thunder. You guys might not even heard of them, okay? Cason Wallace is a starter on the OKC Thunder right now. I don't know how many people know him. He is better than almost every player on the Lakers roster.
Like
and
who?
He comes off
like
the
who? Like
he's better than Connect.
Okay.
He's better than Max Christie. He's better than Cam Reddish. He's better than Rui Hachimura. He's better than Vanderbilt. He's better than Gabe Vincent. The only players he's not better than is LeBron, AD, and Reaves. He would be our 4th best player. I mean, and he's not better than DFS, but with the minutes we give to DFS, you know. But he's the 4th or 5th best player on our roster, and he can easily come off the bench in OKC. Alex Caruso, Isaiah Joe. Like, all these top teams, their 8th man is a starter on a team like ours. It's just the reality. No one looks at the Spurs and is like, why are you guys losing? Because they have Devin Vassell in the starting lineup. They're developing Stephon Castle, you know, but you give them the pass because their superstar is a young guy. There's pressure on us. Like, we got to win. I don't know about that. I feel like the pressure to win was in 2020. At this point, it's just about ending with a good legacy, man. I don't want no embarrassments. I don't want no stains on LeBron's legacy, like that dumb Drake diss. Keep that out of here. All we got to do is beat those kind of allegations and beat those kind of cases. Because at this point, the gameplay, you've already seen the peak. At this point, just be impressed that we're not old and decrepit at the age of 40 like certain other GOATs. So it is what it is, you know?
I think that'll do it for this segment.
I just shut you right up. You had nothing to say. I kept it real.
Yeah.
I kept it real with the Laker fans.
I mean, I agree with you. There's not much to say. We'll go on a 3-minute break, and then we'll discuss our next game.
All right, bet.